For the last 24 to 48 hours, there are a lot of news and a lot of the same interpretations around the Chinese protests. As a Chinese who have been living the lockdown for 3 years and who have been observing this whole thing, I felt like I wanted to say something about the other side of the story, because I have seen on a lot of news, people are saying a lot of the similar things. You know, if you don't know what happened already, in Xinjiang about a week ago, a fire broke out in a building and killed 10 people, including a 3-year-old child. The exact reason why it happened wasn't clear. There were many versions around it already, but it seemed that people suspected that it was because of COVID restriction and lockdown, the fire truck couldn't get to the place to save people's life. Anyhow, the fact that these people died during a lockdown became a trigger for people to vent their frustration with the zero COVID policy. Starting from Xinjiang, the protests spread to big cities like Wuhan, Shanghai, and Nanjing. The thing about COVID lockdown is it has been relying a lot on the Chinese collective culture of self-sacrifice to protect a greater good, right? On principle, we don't really oppose the idea of protecting people's health, the elderly and the children. I personally have gone through a few rounds of lockdowns and I never felt for once that it was the wrong thing to do. But the problem is this has lasted for way too long and with way too little support. People are just fed up. Remember, China is not a welfare country, so there's no such thing where people went out of work, they could apply for a government scheme where they receive payment every month. I can speak for my family. There's a few rounds of tax cut, but when businesses hurt, you barely get any compensation. The company that I worked for last year, which is publicly listed, went bankrupt because there weren't enough clients. Some of my ex-colleagues weren't even getting paid. China is still a country with 600 million people earning less than $200 every month. It doesn't matter how hard you save over the last 10 years. After 3 years of lockdown with barely any opportunities to make money, you are not left with much, really. Even in a wealthier city like Shanghai, imagine a father with 2 children, a wife who might or might not be working, a car and a mortgage to pay. When business goes down, money goes down, stress goes up, and that's the reality. I recognize I'm in a privileged position to talk about this. I live in the south, Guangdong, where everything is just stupidly fine. Like, weather is so comfortable and warm and people are doing okay, and our local authority is the most open, efficient, effective of all China. Last month, cases broke out in town. All we did was to get tested for 3 days. The people just locked down the buildings where cases were found. That's it. That's not in the same in the northern, more conservative part of China, where local authorities are just very nervous around the zero COVID policy. Because in China, remember, local government reports back to Beijing, not to the people. So when the Beijing said, let's do a zero COVID policy, what they were hearing was, well, I don't care what you do, just make sure you keep the numbers down. Even if you go to local government and tell them that you are having trouble making ends meet, which you totally can, they will hear you for sure, but they just won't tell Beijing that people are unhappy for them to change the policy, because then Beijing would say, well, it's kind of your job to work the economy and to keep people happy. Are you telling me that you are failing your job? You know, media does report bits and bobs of people struggling and not doing well financially, but never big enough to make a nationwide rant about it, because in China, you know, it gives people anxiety and it also makes China look bad, so it's a big no-no in our culture. As a result, many voices are not heard. I know in some extreme cases, people are shouting more extreme things, like for Xi Jinping to step down. But if you really look into the protests, most of these people are students, so they are still relying on their parents for financial support. I don't know what that suggests, but voices in China are really diverse. I know some Western observers are kind of looking at this gleefully.
Well, Chinese people are finally protesting against the repressive government, and this is another China movement. You know, see, the CCP sucks just the way we think it does.
If you're outside of China and your actual livelihood aren't impacted by the lockdown policy, it's easier to detach and look at it from the dichotomy of autocracy and democracy. COVID is a hard problem for China to solve. We don't have the perfect solution, and there's no way that the government can make everyone happy. As someone whose life will be impacted by what will happen, I just want my country to deal with this protest fairly, take on people's demand for more freedom and a better livelihood, and move on. This wasn't my first attempt to record this video. I actually got a little bit too emotional yesterday. People are demanding the government. I was meant to publish a big China video today, but I just felt like I need to address this first. So this is an opinion video. Let me know if you enjoy it. In the future, I could potentially do more of these quick style, kind of personal video on China affairs. I know it has been a while for me to publish another video, so thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate you. The next video will be out soon. Stay tuned. Take good care of yourself. I will see you soon.